Hey, everybody. So the results are still coming in, but I'm not going to make it to the general election in November. Not really a surprise there. But I still have a few questions to answer as the race is over. And before I get to them, I have a question of my own. Who the hell are the 194 people in San Diego County that voted for me? I mean, seriously, I never set foot in San Diego County, and they're like, yeah, he seems okay. All right. Regardless of how this election goes, where do you see yourself in the political field and where is your community focus? I'm going to take the summer off and focus on other things, such as the health of my dad and my husband, and figure out what my next step is. I certainly want to be involved some way in the Democratic Party and in Democratic politics, and I hope that Marnie von Wilpert wins, and I hope that she is at least willing to hear some of my ideas. What is your experience like being an out candidate and your treatment in the race? I had people that tell me they wanted to vote for me because I was an LGBTQ candidate. And I said, so is Brandon and Marnie. And they're like, yeah, but they're not as out as you are. And I'm like, okay, I guess so. And then I had people email me and call me a faggot. So you take the good, you take the bad. How do you balance campaigning, social life, work life, and family time? Oh, I don't know if I ever did that, so I am the wrong person to ask. What's a story or anecdote you never got to tell? Okay, so several times when I was writing some of these videos, I would try to work in my Barbara Boxer story. And then through the writing and editing process, I realized the video's too long and this story is kind of shoehorned in, so it didn't really fit. So I never got to tell this story. In June of 2025, me not knowing any better, not knowing anybody, I wrote Barbara Boxer a handwritten letter. And I introduced myself. I said I was running. This was in District 41. And I gave her some of my ideas that I was running on, but I also said I would like to meet you and talk about why I want to represent you and the rest of the people in District 41. I never asked for an endorsement. And a week later, Barbara Boxer comes out and endorses Catherine Alleman. I was disappointed, but I understood the process. This is what happens. And a couple months later, when I had lunch with Catherine to, meet her and find out what kind of representative she wanted to be for our district, which I was very happy with after meeting her. And she told me the story about she had already reached out to Barbara Boxer and they had had lunch. So the endorsement was already planned before I even wrote my letter. Again, that's how it goes. But then after Prop 50, when the district lines changed, Barbara Boxer was no longer living in District 41. In fact, she's not in District 48. And she was endorsing someone who didn't live in District 48, which annoying, but what are you going to do? And the thing that always sticks with me is I don't know how Barbara Boxer was raised, but if someone takes the time to write you a letter, the least you could do is write back and say, thank you, I wish you luck. Was this a positive experience for you? No. No, it was not. There were many nights crying that I've never experienced in my life. Um, had nothing to do with losing. I know losing was always going to be a possibility, if not a probability. But the disappointment from a lot of Democrats, how they treated me, how they dismissed my education, how they dismissed my work background, how they assumed because I didn't have a background in politics, I didn't know what I was talking about, and how people were telling me to drop out because two Republicans were going to be at the top of the ticket, which I knew was never going to happen. I had people telling me to drop out and endorse Amar, which was never going to happen because that guy sucks. And thankfully, the people in this district realized it. So, no, this was not a positive experience, and it kind of shows how in tatters the Democratic Party is. Do you regret running for Congress? And yet, no, I don't regret running for Congress because I did it, I saw it through to the end, and I can say I finished and followed through. If I'd have given up, if I'd have dropped out, I would never have been able to live with myself. And if I had never run in the first place, it would have always been in the back of my head like, I could have done this, I could have done this. Well, I did it, and I lost. But that's okay. And those are the last questions for this whatever web series this is. I want to thank my production team, which is just my husband pressing a button, and to everyone that watched and everyone that subscribed and sent comments and questions. Thank you. Till I see you again, keep your eyes open.